Oh, we've got one of those in the SEC that we've got to look forward to each and every year. This is typically one of the staple games to decide the SEC Western Division when we talk Auburn, LSU. So we got to go to Joe Hunk from the Fallout 740 there in Montgomery, Alabama. Joe, how you doing today?
I am doing tremendous, man. How about you?
Well, that's good to hear. I am as well. Good to see you, and always good to talk college football with you, and specifically some Auburn, as the Tigers continue to go through this rough schedule. And this might be the toughest we would think to date in having to go not just up against Joe Burrow and that lethal offense, but in Death Valley.
Well, and this is a place that, look, I can tell you that teams struggle in certain stadiums, obviously, with the way that Alabama has designed their stadium and everything that we saw on Saturday night. It's a tough place to play. You can go and look at Samford for Georgia. It's a tough place to play. Auburn has not won in Baton Rouge since 1999, and that was the last time that they won there. They have found fun and amazing ways of blowing games from, obviously, we've seen the Leonard Fournette game with Trey Matthews deciding that he just wanted to jump over Leonard Fournette, to having 20, 25-point leads and losing those that way in Baton Rouge. And they find new ways of doing it. And so it's kind of crazy because in 1999, I was a freshman in high school, and that was the last time that Auburn has actually won inside of Death Valley. And they go again. And if you're an Auburn fan, you kind of go, well, we haven't won there. We've never won there. And this team is better than any of the other teams that we've ever played. So why should we be feeling good about this game coming up on Saturday?
I was not a freshman in high school in 1999, but we'll stop right there. So well, Tigers and Tigers. And
so, I mean, I could probably fool some people thinking that I was like, in college or something.
I was actually a junior in high school in 1999. Oh, yeah, I was a junior in high school. Sure.
Not too far ahead.
Yeah, Tigers and Tigers getting after it in Death Valley. So, as we mentioned before we started to record, the script was kind of flipped at this point last year. Auburn was set to make a run in the SEC West and make a run at Bama. LSU, sure, we knew they had tons of talent, as they always do, but lightly regarded as being a rebuilding year. And as you mentioned, Coach O not necessarily given the respect that he's definitely earned here in the last 12 months. And LSU was able to go in there and pull off the upset on the Plains. Auburn's got a difficult task as a 10 to 11 point dog here. Well, do you think the players take that into mind at all? Do you think that they understand kind of their place in the national perception and what is supposed to happen?
The thing for Auburn is, and to say this is a big game is really an understatement. You have a football team that they honestly can look back at the Florida game and they should have won it. They know they should have won it. They know that the offense did not play up, whether it's the coaches wanting to know that they should have called better plays, whether it's the players knowing that they should have tried a little bit harder, to anything along the lines, except for Boobie Whitlow getting injured. They know they should have won that game. They understand that they should be undefeated. And now the schedule that we looked at, that at the beginning of the year, you're talking about how they had to go to Texas A&M. They have to go to Florida. They had to go to LSU. They went to Texas A&M and won. They went to Florida and they played a great game, to an extent, and they should have won it. Now you go to LSU. You look at the rest of this schedule and the fact that they have Ole Miss coming up in a couple of weeks or next week, and you also still have Georgia and Alabama on the schedule, a Georgia team that doesn't look that great. In fact, on ESPN, if you look at the win probability, Auburn's favored to win that game right now. So you've already lost one football game. Everything is still in front of you. Like, as much as everybody wanted to freak out on Georgia losing to South Carolina, they went out. They're still playing in the SEC championship and most likely still playing in the college football playoff. Same thing happens for Auburn. If Auburn wins out, they're playing in the SEC championship and playing in the college football playoff. So one loss isn't going to hurt you in the SEC. It's the second and the third loss that's going to end it for you. And for LSU, this game is so important because as good as their offense is, as hurt as Tua is, winning in Bryant-Denny Stadium in a couple of weeks is not a foregone conclusion. So you got to make sure that if you do have one loss somewhere, that it's only one loss and you don't have a second loss somewhere else because you are focusing on that game coming up in a few weeks. And where Auburn is they have an opportunity now where they really can do some damage in the SEC West, but they have to do it in going into Baton Rouge where they haven't won in 20.
We've got Auburn, we've got LSU getting after each other in Death Valley coming up on Saturday. We got Joe Hunk on the line from 7:40 a.m. in Montgomery, Alabama. His show is The Fallout, and you can get my college football predictions week 9 down in the description section below. Just grab that link at Voice of College Football Community. 14-7 against the spread last week, so jump on that.
Nice.
All right, Joe Burrow's tearing it up. This LSU offense is incredible, but I haven't seen any quarterbacks complete passes when they've got grass stains on the back of their jersey. So if the Auburn defensive line can buck up and be everything that we know that they are and play lights out, then that's the number one key, I got to think.
Well, it is. And from a defensive standpoint, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to make Joe Burrow and make them iffy on passing the football, because even though they have two amazing wide receivers, this running game isn't the same that we have seen in the past, whether, it was Darius Geis, Leonard Fournette, or any other great LSU running back that you can look at. It's not the same. So if you can make them have to go to the run game, then Auburn definitely has an advantage. If you can flip the script a little bit and look at the offensive side for Auburn, LSU has a great run defense, but their secondary and their passing defense is actually questionable. So now if you're Malzahn, this is where you start to go, okay, I have these weapons. Anthony Schwartz is now 100% healthy. You have Seth Williams now that is looking like an NFL wide receiver just in the sophomore season. You have these little pieces that are starting to come together. We need to attack on the passing game. And for me, if Auburn's going to win, it's going to be because Bo Nix made smart plays on the RPOs. You're going to be seeing Seth Williams and Anthony Schwartz getting a lot of touches, and that is how they're going to be able to do it. You can worry about the run game. Is it going to be Cam Martin? Is it going to be DJ Williams? Is it going to be this? But it's the passing game that is going to be able to keep Auburn in this football game, and that is where it's going to be very scary, because as many yards as this LSU defense has given up, they're also like second or third in the SEC in interceptions as well. And Bo Nix threw 3 interceptions against Florida in the last big game that he played in, which was on the road. That's where if you're Auburn, you're like, okay, if you're going to pass, be smart about it. Bo Nix needs to be a game manager, and that's not a bad term for him, especially in his freshman year. He is a game manager. Auburn's in this game.
Yeah, and that's what causes me to pull back on a possible upset pick, is that to expect Bo Nix, and I'm a big believer in Bo Nix long term. I still keep in mind true freshman. So people get on him. People say, he's erratic, he's inconsistent, and use a lot of other terms that I hate to use when talking about athletics. He's garbage, he's trash. I hate to hear that. The guy's a tremendous athlete, tremendous competitor, tremendous quarterback, considering his level of experience right now. But to go into Death Valley and to be, he doesn't have to be mistake-free. That's unquestionably way beyond expectations. But he needs to be close to that. He needs to be big mistake-free, pretty much. And they can create all sorts of gimmicks and gadgets to get people in space. But at some point, the corners and the safeties lurk, and they crowd the line, and they look for those things. At some point, you got to take some calculated risks downfield, and that's where he's going to need to be able to discern calculated risk versus I just missed this read, and wow, there went the ball, and it's coming back the other way.
Yeah, and with him, a lot of his decision making happens right before the snap because of the RPO offense that Auburn really likes to run. So he's got to make sure that he's getting the right reads, because with Coach Ogeron and this defense, they may start throwing in some fakes, give it, kind of blanket some stuff, try to throw in something that's going to make you think, okay, this is what we're doing, and back out of it. It's going to be causing Bo Nix to make the wrong read. So for him and with him, long term, if you're an Auburn fan, you should be excited about it. Short term, he's got to dial it back a little bit. The pass that we saw, the one that would have given Auburn the lead against Florida, you can't make those passes because that's not a smart pass. If he looks to his right, there's a running back that's wide open, could at least gotten 10 or 15 yards and got yourself the first down. I should say not a first down, but it got you in better field goal range. And those are the type of decisions that he's going to have to make. He cannot take the chances because of how big this game is going to be. And you can't do that inside of Death Valley. You're just absolutely going to have to make the smart decisions and play it smart. There's going to be a point in time where you can take this risk, but if it's never there, don't force it. And that's what he did against Florida, is he forced it sometimes.
Always enjoy the conversation with Joe Hunk. You can catch him on the Fallout 740 AM there in Montgomery, Alabama. You can grab my Week 9 college football predictions in the description section below. Just grab the link that says Voice of College Football Community. 14-7 against the spread last week.